You're watching CT23 with Eric Parker.
Welcome back. A Connecticut gunmaker is being sued in the death of a Colorado woman named Suzanne Fountain, who was killed in a mass shooting while shopping at her local grocery store 2 years ago this month. Joining me to outline the case are attorneys representing her son, Nathaniel Getz. They are Ryan McKean and Andrew Ranks from the Connecticut trial firm. Thank you both for being here with us. We saw a similar effort coming out of the Sandy Hook shooting. Now we're talking about a shooting that happened back in 2021 at a King's supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. I have the complaint here in my hand. We have a Connecticut case, 2 Connecticut lawyers. How does this case end up here?
We were contacted by lawyers out in Colorado who were looking for a firm on behalf of the victims of this to bring exactly this case. And so they gave us a call. We looked at the law, we looked at the case, and we decided to bring it.
So in this case, you're suing Sturm, Ruger and Company. They're the maker of the firearm. Andrew, tell me about the leap you have to make. And we saw this in that Sandy Hook case. You're obviously not saying that they're responsible by their actions for the death as far as like on the day of the shooting. It's what they did in their advertising? Explain it.
Correct. So using the precedent that we have from the Sandy Hook case, where the families from the Sandy Hook shooting brought cases against Bushmaster and Remington as a result of those shootings, we're using what's called the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Law, which says that a company can be responsible if their marketing in such a way contributes to something like this that causes harm to people. And we believe, based on our investigation and the information that we have, that the marketing for this particular weapon did contribute to what happened out in Boulder.
Well, you say in your pleadings that they glorified a lone gunman, they glorified assaults, they made a weapon that you say was designed to kill as many people as fast as possible. I thought it was interesting here in the complaint, hold it up there, you have pictures of the gun, you have pictures of the weapon that they manufactured and marketed and sold. What do you hope to accomplish, Ryan, by bringing this case? Is it a bigger issue than obviously just the family you represent?
Yeah, the family or families, they really want accountability. They don't want this to happen to anyone again. And, you know, they understand anytime any of us walk into a supermarket, by the grace of God, it could be us. And they want some accountability specifically on the gun makers for the marketing of this specific product.
And you know the arguments, Andrew, that you're going to hear. We've heard them anytime anything like this happens, that it's not the gun maker, it's the bad actor. I mean, we have a suspect who was arrested in this case, a 23-year-old shooter facing 100 counts. He's been found not competent to stand trial. People are going to say, you're barking up the wrong tree here. It's his fault, not the gun maker. How do you respond to that argument?
Yeah, well, it's certainly he was responsible for his actions, but everyone is responsible for their own actions and what contributed to something like this. And in particular with this gun that is shown in our complaint, it was marketed as a pistol, an AR-556 pistol. However, we have information that suggests that Sturm Ruger took advantage of regulations to find loopholes in order to get this particular type of weapon into people's hands, like the person in Colorado who committed this atrocity.
I know you've been in contact with other families involved in this same shooting, so we'll wait and see what happens on that front. We did reach out to Sturm Ruger and ask them to comment. We did not hear back from an attorney for them. Ryan, I want to ask you about sending a message. The Connecticut trial firm, which you're one of the co-founders of, made headlines last year when you got a $100 million jury verdict. That was, of course, on behalf of Juan Cruz, paralyzed warehouse worker. When you have those kind of numbers, it makes headlines, obviously, but it also certainly sends a message to the person that you're suing. Is that what you're looking for here?
Yes, we are absolutely looking to send a message. We are looking to send a message of accountability to gun makers to try to make sure that this does not happen again. And we know, as the facts come out in this case, the marketing of this product, of this particular gun, is particularly egregious and contributed to this shooting.
And what's the standard then? What do you have to prove to accomplish that? I mean, is it a matter of just showing their advertising and getting the jury to buy in? What's the legal standard you have to do to get over that hurdle?
Sure. We essentially have to establish that the marketing of this particular weapon contributed in some way to the actual incident itself or enhanced the the nature and severity of the incident itself.
And obviously, we're just in the very beginning stages. The case has just been filed, and it's months, years away from any sort of resolution. But if people are interested in this effort, what are the benchmarks they should be watching for, Ryan? Like, as this moves forward, is it just an ultimate verdict, or could they follow along and see what happens here?
You're going to be really looking at the motion practice. We know that we're going to face a number of motions. Motion to strike, maybe request to revise, probably a motion for summary judgment. And to see how that plays out on the papers, because if we need to get through all those hurdles in order to get to a trial in this case.
How does a case, Andrew, like this differ? I mean, obviously, you guys, you're called a Connecticut trial firm. You try cases on behalf of clients. Someone who's involved in a car accident or a slip and fall or something else along those lines. When you have a case of this magnitude, does it change your job as a lawyer?
It does in some ways, but in many ways we treat this case the same way we treat all our cases, insofar as ultimately we're trying to find the truth and get justice for our clients. So certainly there's going to be more involved in a case like this from the motion practice or from a discovery standpoint, but at the end of the day, our goal remains the same.
And again, you're going to face pushback from people who say, we see these shootings, whether it's one person, two person, or God forbid more than that, shootings all the time in the news. So if the Sandy Hook effort was novel success, if you are to replicate this success, I mean, doesn't that make every one of these shootings in the headlines subject to a lawsuit like this, or is that your point?
I don't think it makes every shooting subject to a lawsuit. There are very specific things that are going to come out in this case about the marketing and about this weapon that make it that this wouldn't have happened but for the marketing of this specific firearm. And so I don't think that look, this is only the second case that we have found that has been brought since Sandy Hook. So there isn't like a slippery slope of gun manufacturers being sued across this country.
It was successful in Sandy Hook. Obviously, you wouldn't have brought the case if you didn't think you had some level of success. But as you evaluate it, is it a tough case?
There's no doubt any case like this is going to be challenging. We do benefit from the work done by the very great lawyers that brought the original Sandy Hook case. But it's a fight we're willing to have, and we think it's a fight worth fighting. And
Ryan, just one more. We talked about that $100 million verdict. When you're talking about those kind of numbers, what do you tell clients about what's ahead for them?
We don't talk numbers with our clients at this point. And our clients aren't driven by the money here. They're driven by making sure it doesn't happen to other families.
All right. Ryan McKean, Andrew Ranks, Connecticut Trial Firm, thank you both for being with us, and we'll keep an eye on this. Like we said, it's in the very early stages, and you've been talking to some other families from there. We'll keep an eye on the pleadings and maybe have you back on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. Coming up, do you have a teenager in your life who's looking for a summer job? The state of Connecticut may actually be able to help. The commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Labor will join us next in our Sunday Spotlight.